Ben Shephard had always been the kind of man who could walk into any studio and instantly turn a stressful morning into something brighter. He had that familiar warmth, the charming grin, the quick wit that made people feel like they were talking to an old friend. Whether he was hosting, interviewing, or simply greeting viewers with his calm voice, Ben carried a sense of comfort that people counted on. But behind the public smiles and polished professionalism, there was a world that only a few ever saw. A world where the lights were softer, where the laughter was real, and where Ben wasn't a presenter. He was just a husband, a father, a man who loved the quiet moments shared with the woman he adored. Her name was Annie. Annie Shephard wasn't famous, but she was unforgettable. She had a kind of beauty that didn't need cameras, a quiet strength that didn't need applause, and a sense of humor that could make Ben laugh harder than any guest he'd ever interviewed. To everyone who knew them, Ben and Annie were the kind of couple who made love look simple, even when life was anything but simple. It all began on an ordinary afternoon. The kind of day where Ben came home talking about something hilarious that happened on set, and Annie teased him about his terrible dancing in the kitchen. Everything felt normal, until little things started changing, subtle shifts in Annie's energy, her mood, her focus. Nothing dramatic, nothing alarming, just different. Annie brushed it off. She always did. That was her way of protecting everyone around her. She didn't like being the center of worry. But Ben noticed. He always noticed. Because as much as the world recognized him as confident and composed, Annie was the one who understood him long before the spotlight ever did. When they finally decided to get things checked, cautiously, quietly, they never imagined how quickly life would shift. Days became filled with appointments, conversations, long car rides, and moments of silence where they held hands a little tighter than usual. But Annie stayed strong, not in a dramatic, cinematic way, but in that gentle, reassuring way she had always been. Even when Ben was overwhelmed with fear he tried so hard not to show, Annie squeezed his hand, smiled at him, and said, "We're fine. We'll get through everything. Together." That word, together, became the anchor for the entire family. Though the situation was frightening and uncertain, their home slowly filled with a different kind of energy, more laughter, more midnight kitchen conversations, more spontaneous cuddles on the couch, more silly jokes from their sons who were determined to keep things light even when they were scared themselves. Ben became fiercely protective. He cleared his schedule, turned down commitments, and stayed home more than ever before. Some colleagues teased him good-naturedly about becoming a full-time chef and professional worrier, and Ben laughed, even when he burnt dinner twice in 1 week, because none of that mattered, not compared to being by Annie's side. He found himself learning things he never expected to learn, like how to perfectly fold laundry the way Annie liked it, how to make her tea with the exact amount of honey she always pretended she didn't care about, how to read her moods even when she tried to hide them behind a smile. And Annie, even while navigating challenges she didn't ask for, still found ways to make Ben laugh. She teased him about his dramatic size. She reminded him that he talked to the toaster once when he was too tired to function. She even wrote him a silly note one morning that said, "If you burn breakfast again, we're ordering takeout forever." It made him laugh harder than he'd laughed in weeks. Their home became a place of deep emotion. Fear, yes, but also love, tenderness, and humor that stitched the days together. When the news began circulating that Ben had stepped back from some work, fans began sending messages, not out of curiosity, but out of genuine care. People wrote about how much Ben's warmth had brightened their mornings for years, how Annie's quiet presence in his life had always seemed like a steady force, how they were rooting for the couple without even knowing the details. Ben read those messages late at night while Annie slept beside him, her hand resting lightly against his arm, as if she instinctively knew he needed the comfort even in her dreams. There were moments it made him emotional, but not in a way that broke him. It strengthened him, reminded him that kindness still existed, even in the quiet corners of life. As the days continued, the couple settled into a new rhythm, slower, more intentional, filled with gratitude for things they used to overlook: morning sunlight through the curtains, shared breakfasts, the warmth of simple conversation. Sometimes they danced in the living room late at night, barefoot, swaying to music only they could hear. Ben would joke about stepping on her toes. Annie would roll her eyes dramatically, and they would laugh until they forgot everything else. Sometimes they sat outside, wrapped in a blanket, whispering about their dreams for the future, because they still dreamed, still hoped, still planned. Their sons, watching their parents navigate every moment with love, became even more protective, bringing home flowers, making jokes at every opportunity, and embracing every chance to make their mom smile. Slowly, the fear that once filled their home began to be replaced with something else: resilience, determination, a love so deep and so sincere that it cast a glow even over the hardest days. Ben wasn't the calm, polished presenter from television during this time. He wasn't the charming smile or the perfectly timed joke. He was simply a man begging the universe for more time with the person he loved most. And Annie, she wasn't just strong, she was luminous, grounded, a source of courage that influenced everyone around her. The future remained uncertain, but their love remained unshakable. And through every appointment, every quiet night, every shared tear, and every burst of laughter, they discovered something profound. Life isn't defined by how perfect the days are. It's defined by who stands beside you when the days become difficult. Their journey had only begun. Their family was ready for whatever came next. And no matter how long the road stretched ahead, they were determined to walk it arm in arm, laughing, loving, and holding on to each other every step.